CI, good morning. So nice more as we go on in this morning's music. Chief Host,
Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru, alongside other officers of the Nigerian Army and Air Force, who last week lost their lives in a most unfortunate air accident. On behalf of the House of Representatives, I extend my sincere condolences to their families and pray that they are comforted through the abundant grace of God. Since the minute silence has already been observed, let us in our hearts pray for the departed, late General Ibrahim Atahiru, Brigadier General M.I. Abdul Kadir, Brigadier General Olayinka, Brigadier General Kulia, Major Hayat, Major Hamza, Sergeant Umar, Flight Lieutenant Asani, Flight Lieutenant Olufade, Sergeant Additional, and ACM Oyedepo. They all died in the service of our nation. May their souls rest in peace. Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru and the soldiers and the airmen who died with him gave to our nation the last full measure of devotion. It is for us, the living, to show fidelity to the cause they served by rededicating ourselves to the task of building a more perfect union. Through the achievement of lasting peace and abiding prosperity, we honor the memory of those who have given their lives that this nation may live. Today, at this time of our national history, when insecurity threatens the authority of the state and the foundations of our nationhood, when the activities of bandits, insurgents, and criminals of every stripe impede our efforts at progress and prosperity, we must confront the realization that our previous and current approaches to addressing the challenges of insecurity have not yielded the desired results. Ultimately, an enduring peace depends on our ability to build a society where individuals can aspire to and achieve their righteous ambitions on the strength of their effort and regardless of the status of their birth. Yet, achieving this kind of society depends on securing the lives of our people, protecting property and investment, and ensuring that people can freely traverse the length of our country without fear of danger or molestation. The legislative obligation to make laws for the good governance of the country exists alongside a duty to make sure that the policies we develop and the legislation we consider and pass address the most pressing concerns of the Nigerian people. Policies and legislation must also include the considered contributions of our citizens and be capable of meeting the highest ambitions of our nationhood. We have convened this special summit on national security to jointly, as citizens and public servants, find solutions to the problems of insecurity in our country. We are here because we know that our nation and our national ambitions will not be attained without lasting peace and security. We are here to have honest conversations about who we are, where we are, how we got here, and the hard choices we must make to guarantee a secure future for all our nation's children. We will, over the next few days, consider the contributions of a cross-section of Nigerian people and develop therefrom recommendations that take into proper account the social and constitutional, political, and economic factors that contribute to insecurity in our country. We will identify specific legislative actions and make practicable recommendations for executive action. We do not seek and do not have it in our power to put an end to all conflict. Our responsibility in government is to ensure that the lives and property of all the people within Nigeria are safe from the predations of those who use violence for profit or in service of religious or ethnic objectives. And to make sure that whosoever raises arms against our country is served the full measure of justice. This summit is not an avenue for name-calling for apportioning blame or absolving responsibility. Our national house is on fire, and the people we serve rightly expect that we devote all our energies and resources to trying to improve the future rather than be paralyzed in the present, grieving about the errors and failures of the past. It is by the work we do now that we can redeem ourselves and save our beloved country. This summit, therefore, must be and is solution-driven. Our deliberations in this summit and the recommendations that emerge therefrom will reflect all the factors that have precipitated our present circumstances, including issues of economic fairness, the allocation of state resources, the deficiencies of our criminal justice system, and the role of critical national institutions such as the National Assembly, the judiciary, and the state and local governments. The work of this summit will be conducted behind closed doors to allow informed stakeholders to engage frankly on matters of national security in a protected environment. This way, we can participate in an exhaustive consideration and cross-fertilization of ideas. Already, thousands of memoranda and other submissions have been received and reviewed. These will also form part of the summit's report and recommendations. This summit will produce recommendations for legislative action, and the National Assembly will begin to implement this immediately. We will present to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, DCFR, our recommendations for executive action, and Mr. President has assured me that he will receive and consider the report as a good faith contribution by Parliament to address a matter of urgent national importance. Let me at this juncture say this is a collaboration of both the executive and the legislative arms of government. Indeed, Mr. President, I got a call from his office a couple of days ago, and for want of a better word, he was excited about being here personally himself today. But unfortunately, yesterday, things came up, and I was called by Mr. President will either Zoom in or be represented by the SGF, who hopefully will be here before the close of business today. So Mr. President is on all fours, all arms are on deck, and I must say at this point also, off the cuff, that when nations go through crisis, as we have seen in advanced countries that we try to emulate the best from. 9/11 in the United States, for example. When nations go through crisis, they do so in oneness of spirit. They forget persuasions. Color, creed, religion, parties have no place. The nations pull together in times of crisis. And this is what I expect us to do in Nigeria at this time. The work we will do here over the next few days will only yield the desired results if we all across government recognize that only an all-of-government approach can guarantee our success in overcoming the challenge of insecurity in Nigeria. I ask that in that spirit, we resolve to work productively with one another in the joint task of securing our nation and protecting our people. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a nation under attack. Our victory in this present battle depends greatly on our ability to set aside our differences and mobilize in one accord against an impending catastrophe that threatens all of us. Again, like I said, regardless of language, religion, politics, or status. It may well be that it is in the crucible of this battle for survival that we become a nation fully formed. Therefore, we must rise to the moment with passion and perspective. We hope for peace and desire its benefits. Yet neither fervent hope nor heartfelt desire will suffice. because the ends of peace require action. As in the words of the former American President Bill Clinton, he said, and I quote, "Peace must be waged with a warrior's resolve, bravely, proudly, and relentlessly, secure in the knowledge of the single greatest difference between war and peace. In peace, everybody wins." Let us, in this defining moment, work together to pursue the things that make for peace. Let us dedicate ourselves to ending violence and disorder in our land and to improving the quality of life for all our nation's people. Let us work together to uphold the honor and glory of Nigeria and free our nation to be a place of peace and justice forevermore. Let me again at this juncture thank our eminent royal fathers. There's no gainsay the role they have to play when it comes to ensuring peace and stability in Nigeria. On behalf of the House of Representatives, I thank you. You've been here for a couple of days. You've dedicated yourself to this cause. This event was supposed to hold on Monday, but for what happened? When I spoke to the Sultan and the Oni of Ife, as inconvenient as it was, because they had to go back to their respective domains, they remained because they believed that this was a worthy cause that was being pursued. And I thank you for your dedication and your service. I want to thank the service chiefs. You've just lost one of your own, a bright star. But I want to thank you on behalf of the House for your dedication to service, for your commitment, that in spite of all that's happened in the last few days, you remain committed. You are gallant soldiers, officers and gentlemen who will rely on, who risk their lives on many uniform every day so that this country may survive. For you, we owe our eternal debt of gratitude. I thank His Excellency, the President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, for his support for this special summit on national security. I assure all Nigerians that the House of Representatives remains committed to doing our part to enhance the government's efforts at securing our country and protecting the lives and investments of Nigerians and all those who believe in our country. And I thank you all for your presence here this morning.
Once again, condole the CDS and our armed forces for the loss that we suffered. It was a great loss, very gallant, heroic, and patriotic Chief of Army Staff, and other officers of the Nigerian Army, as well as the Air Force. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. Let me start by commending the leadership of the House for organizing this special summit on national security. I believe that this is a very worthwhile summit, and that's why we have the presence of all that are concerned. I want to say here that Nigeria is at a crossroads today. The very essence of the existence of this country is under serious threat. What started as simply an insurgency in 2009 or so in the northern part of Yobe has now snowballed into full-scale insurgency in the entire Northeast. What was not known to us in the Northwest is with us today in the form of banditry and kidnapping. The North Central, as we all know, is not saved. We suffer the clashes between the herders and our farmers. And a recent introduction in the southeast is another serious threat to the existence of this country, where government institutions are targeted. Our police, our security agencies personnel are being killed on a daily basis. Our institutions, buildings are burnt. I believe that these are threats not only to those areas, but to the entire nation. And our armed forces are doing their best. I must commend our armed forces and other security agencies for doing so much with the little we're able to give them. The National Assembly has always been on the side of giving the kind of support, either legislative or the kind of financial support that the armed forces and indeed all other security agencies require, even though we have our limits. The essence of this summit, I'm sure, is to look for ways and means of improving the performance of our armed forces and the other security agencies. This summit is essential because we are tested as a country. We are tested as a people. Criminals everywhere have found probably comfort in doing what they do. This is the time for the legislature and the executive arm of government to come even closer in finding solutions. And I want to take this opportunity to appeal and urge the executive arm of government to implement whatever will be the outcome of this summit. There were previous summits by the National Assembly. I recall we had a similar summit in the 8th Assembly. And I believe that the legislative perspective is essential in finding solutions to the myriad of security issues that affect our country today. I want to also appeal to all Nigerians for their continued support for the administration and for our armed forces and our security agencies. All hands must be on deck. A criminal has only one name. That is criminal. No criminal should have comfort in his ethnic enclave. No. Whoever, wherever that person is, once he's a criminal, he's simply a criminal and must be dealt with in the appropriate manner, regardless of where he or she is coming from. It is also important that we provide resources or more resources for our security agencies to enable them better to tackle the criminal activities going across the country. And our armed forces can do that. But the fact remains, we have not enabled them enough. Today in this country, there is no better investment than investing in the security of our people. We must ensure that we protect the lives and the property of our people. This is the essence of government. So while the National Assembly should work hard, as it always does, to provide more resources I also want to say that we must review the procurement processes by the security agencies. While we are not going to open up how they do these things to the public, but as parliamentarians, those who approve the funding, we must understand how these procurement processes are undertaken. If the processes require that we change the way we do them because of inefficiencies, we should go ahead and do so. Because it's not enough to just put in more resources, but how the resources are deployed with economy, with prudence and efficiency. Finally, because this is a goodwill message, not a lecture, I want to once again appeal to us in the National Assembly. The security agencies, we know, are doing their best. But I think it's high time that we work with the executive arm of government to look at the architecture of our security system for better performance. And when I mention the architecture, I also want to mention that all levels of government are responsible for securing the lives and property of Nigerians. All levels of government, federal government, states, and the local governments. And of course, it is a well-known fact that the local government doesn't function. The local government system doesn't function. That takes away a lot from our efforts at providing security for lives and property of our people. And when I mention the local government system not functioning, our traditional rulers who had played major roles in protecting us today have no function, more or less. It's only when there are problems we look for them. In the northern part of the country, and I dare say in all parts of Nigeria, our traditional rulers had played key roles in ensuring security in their domains. Why can't we look at the possibility of providing an official function for them, even if it is an advisory capacity in the Constitution? So finally, I want to once again congratulate Mr. Speaker and the leadership of the House, and indeed the entire House membership, for organizing this very important special summit on our national security, and I wish all of us very productive and fruitful sessions. Thank you very much. God bless all of us.
The traditional leaders are partners in progress to the political leaders of our great country. We don't have any competition whatsoever as regards running the affairs of this country, because we believe in changes, and when changes happen, you must accept the change, because only Almighty Allah makes changes possible. We're all very aware. Some of us here are very young, but you read history. And if you read history books, you know our institution, the traditional institution, existed before Nigeria came together in 1914. Before we were colonized, we've had Sokoto Caliphate, have Oyo Empire, we have the Great Ife, and other Kanem Borno Empire, and so on and so forth. And the leaders were leading very well with the fear of Almighty Allah, Almighty God. But when we were colonized and we were put together as Nigeria, we still played a role. And until I think the 1976 reforms that took away all the good things the institution stands for, the institution had been doing for centuries. We've had it so good. Now things are really very bad. It doesn't take anybody to know, yes, Nigeria is in a very, very bad situation, and it's a fact. And I'm happy to hear the two leaders of the National Assembly saying that personally and in public. Let's not deceive ourselves that things are all right. Things are not all right. We know it and we feel it and we see it. For some of us, we have seen so much in our lives. My 31 years as a military officer, I don't know where these young officers were when I was still in service, the Chief of Defense Staff and Corps. They were very junior officers. My 31 years took me to Pakistan as a defense advisor. The generals here know what defense advisor does when he goes to other countries. And I covered Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, that's the Gulf states, for 3 years. At the end of my tenure, I came back to National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, for my course. And after the course, 2 weeks before the end of the course, Almighty Allah brought me to this position at Sultan. 2 weeks before I ended, before the graduation ceremony. When I was in NIPS, my paper was on religious extremism as a national security problem. I was a colonel. I didn't know a few months later I would be on this seat. And I researched, talked to religious leaders, talked to political leaders, and I found out what really religious extremism is. And based on my own knowledge as a 3-year DA in Pakistan, covering the most troublesome areas of the world, and it's still the most troublesome area in the world, the Middle East and the Gulf states. So some of us have this experience. From the time I became Sultan till now, for 11 years plus, we've been having such gatherings to talk about Nigeria, national security, development, and whatever. 11 years plus. And I've been here for 14 years plus. And we have talked and talked. We have talked at Northern Governors Forum level with all the traditional rulers in the north. We've talked at national level, where I happen to be the chairman and the ONI is the co-chairman of that body. We have talked and talked and talked. In the last 1.5 months, we've had 3 serious gatherings like this, with the highest security echelons in the country, with the highest leadership of this country. Today we are here once again to talk on the same issues of national security. I think enough of these talks. Let's walk the talk. Because the more we sit here and talk, the more time we waste in taking real actions. Because we know the problems. I'm not going to say anything here that I have not said in the last 7 years. So I'm not going to give a lecture like the Senate President said. You're trying to give a lecture, but it's important when you come to public forum like this, you say some few things. I wish this gathering is a very formal one where you don't have media, so that I can discuss some of these issues very, very well. You know the problems. And honestly, I thought we are coming to a closed-door program with the leadership of the House of Reps, and other major stakeholders like the service chiefs, whom we can open up to them. Because some of them know what we feel, what we think about some of the issues, because they know we know what they know. And we collaborate with them. So my own take on this summit, yes, it's important to sit and talk, but it's much more important to implement what we have talked about. We can't just continue talking, and we don't implement. I bet you can come back 3 or 4 months later for another security summit. We will discuss the same things we are going to discuss today, because we don't implement. But it's good that we have such a forum, and I want to thank the speaker for thinking out loud to convene this program. At least we are together from various parts of the country, and it's important that we keep on sitting together to talk. Yes, let's talk. Let's see one another. Let's greet one another, so that will exude hope in the masses that their leaders are talking. But behind the talk, let's go back to serious issues of implementing whatever comes out from such forum, and with honesty, sincerity, and fear of God. Because so many things we do, so many things our leaders do, you say one thing today, tomorrow you change. You say one thing publicly, and people will clap for you. When you go back in your comfort zone, you throw everything away. That's why I say with fear of God, because whatever you do, God is seeing you. You don't see him, but he sees you. And as leaders, God is going to ask us to account for the leadership he gave us here on earth. And all of us here will account for our deeds here. This is where we can do well, that when we meet our Creator, we'll be much, much happier with him. So I call on our leaders, the political leaders in particular, please fear God. Do what is right. Don't look at ethnic, religious, or personal interests while you are doing your own duties. You've had so many resolutions on the floor of the House. How many of them have been implemented? You need to sit down and talk. You pass resolutions, executive, legislature, have they implemented some of those things? Because you are the eyes and ears and mouth of the common man. But the common man voted for you. They didn't vote for you to come to Abuja and see the beautiful buildings and roads that we don't have in our villages. So know that it's a responsibility placed on you by Almighty Allah, and you will account for it. It's high time we put aside all the ethnic and religious profiling, which was incidentally was our theme for our Interreligious Council meeting, quarterly meeting last week, Wednesday. Ethnic and religious profiling. But that's the issue. Whatever happens, the first thing is they'll say a Fulani herdsman. Whatever happens, they say, but when it comes to terms of banditry or whatever it is, there's no like, some of you have already said, stop profiling criminals. Call them by their name, criminals. And then we'll be much happier. Because no ethnic bloc or religious bloc will be happy when every day you keep on calling his own side of the coin the very, very bad one. Even when you know that you are much, much more in number, the good ones are much, much more in number. The very few ones, yes, Fulanis do all these bad things, we know. So do Yorubas, Igbos, Efiks, Ibibios, and so on and so forth. So unless we come together and look at the greater figure, that is Nigeria, and work for Nigeria to move on, we'll continue dropping in the dark and we'll continue having these problems. So when the speaker called me and said, please don't go back, we pushed this into Wednesday, yes. We are here, we're talking about security, and one of our own, when his time was up, Almighty Allah took him. It's in the service of the country, it's in the service of security. And I told him, well, Honorable Speaker, I will stay back and listen to what people are going to say. I wish I could stay at the technical session also and contribute, because we have a lot. There are so many things that you cannot say publicly with these media people, especially with the worst, the social media. That's the worst. As lawmakers, what do you do? How do you handle such issues of the social media? Because before tomorrow and say Sultan calls for ban, also I didn't say so. I didn't say ban social media. But how do you regulate it? We've seen this thing happen all over the world. Why can't Nigeria also borrow from that? See how we can safeguard our national security for the national interest instead of the individual or other interests. It's important for us. So I hope this security seminar will bring some of these very strong issues out. And when you are ready with your decisions or whatever, you call some of us back, like the National Council of Traditional Rulers, the NAREC, which is a body of the senior religious leaders in the country. We sit together again once more. And I want to thank all of you for inviting us, and wish you all the very best and most successful seminar. And may we have the strength and the grace of Almighty Allah to implement whatever we have discussed here. Somebody put a paper that time is up. You don't tell Sultan time is up. Whenever I finish, it's my time. And if the speaker who speaks, we talk. So since only the speaker who can now say something like that. So we thank you very much and wish you all the very best.
All of you to give his good message.
We don't have any other place. The nation belongs to all of us. We're here talking. The organizer, Honorable Speaker, spoke first, welcomed all of us, followed by the Senate President. We all know their positions in this country. The Senate President is, by virtue of counting this country, is the number 3 man in this country. The Speaker, too, the number 4 man in this country. His Eminence spoke as well, and you can see the trajectory of everything that they are saying the same thing. The gatekeepers of their nation are here, the service chiefs. And if you look at this all, on the average, the age of each and every one of us here is between the bracket of 50 and about 60, early 60s. And anybody can challenge me if I'm wrong. Our dear country that has brought all of us together here, the youngest serving governor is only 46 years old. And we all know the demography of this country. The demography of this country is above 50, all the way to age of dependency is less than 30%. But between the age of 18 to under 40, we have them in numbers of more than 70%. And we're talking about security here. Who are the active participants whenever we have breakdown of law and order? It is the average age of 18 to 39. And that's the truth. Are they ghosts? Are they invisible? The answer is no. They are human beings. Even our laws, our constitution, they will say at some point, very active civil servants will live on the average of 60 years old. Because they know why. Because they are getting tired. Maybe the judiciary extends till 70 years old, some 65. They will even say 35 or 30 years, whichever comes earlier. We all know all these laws. But every time we're talking the talk, we're talking the talk. Number 2 man, number 3 man, number 4 man, they are all saying the same thing the way His Eminence said it. And the participants are not faceless. They are not ghosts. It is very idiotic and stupidity for us to be doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. We will continue to get the same result. Let's be very truthful and honest to ourselves in this country. We all know the problems. How well are we carrying along these people in that age bracket who are representing that age bracket in this hall? The answer is no. We are not engaging them at all. But whenever we want to go for political posts, appointments, we go back to them. We know the good, we know the bad, and the ugly in their category. As traditional rulers, they are the most active in our system. Let us tell ourselves the truth. They are hungry and they are angry. I repeat, they are hungry and they are very angry. All of us that are here, I'll be very happy if anybody can raise up their hand and say, I can go to my area of constituents, my local governments, and I can stay there in peace for 1 week. Who can do it here? Including our gatekeepers. Who can do it here? Including the Senate President, including the Speaker. But you left the traditional rulers. You left district heads, the Baales, to continue to stay there. And you are saying all will be well in this country. We are the ones facing these youths. We know their problems. And we have been talking every time. You sit in beautiful offices and you all think all will be well. Let us be very truthful in this country. Look at this beautiful building. As beautiful as this building is, if the foundation is wrong, the entire building will collapse because the foundation has a problem. In this gathering, the Senate President mentioned the key factor, the collapse of local government. It has collapsed. Let's be very truthful to ourselves. It has completely collapsed because that's the only arm of government that is, number one, the foundation of this country. You don't have any other foundation. We are only building on a castle that has been completely broken down. That is the foundation that will gather the most active age bracket for you in this country. You say we have 774 local governments and several wards. Where do we have the wards being put together? It's under the local government constituency. They are underfunded. You don't even reference them for anything. You don't even care about their administration. Where did we get it wrong in this country? We all have faults. All of us here. If we keep talking every time, we will not get any result. It's getting worse. They are getting more emboldened. They are now very bold and they are ready to face anybody because they are hungry and they are angry. Let us change our strategy. Let us change our style. You leave this age bracket. If there will be a problem, you will give them guns to start to move around. You will never see anybody above our age in our comfort zone here that is really ready to face the music. It's very important for all of us to know that we are not all safe. We are not safe at all. let us engage a lot of youth organizations that are very relevant, that understands the local government administration, the governance within every district, every category of the localization of this country. It's very important for us, and continue to engage them in every program we do in this country. You have neglected that category completely. The whole we are right now, you have neglected them because they are not represented here. They are not at all. So what are we going to come out here to talk about? And that is our foundation. It is our foundation. We should be very serious in this country now. We should talk very seriously. This issue of security, this national security, is not the problem of the service chiefs. It's not the problem of the lawmakers. It's not the problem of the executive arm of government. It's the problem of all of us. How many of this active population that are under you that you are taking care of? What's the essence of you being a politician? That you cannot even move around freely. You cannot. Nobody. Do you think Abuja is only Nigeria? Or Lagos is only Nigeria? 36 states of this country. Some people are there, you left them, you abandoned them, and you are making laws and you are administering. What are you administering? I do not know. So let us talk to ourselves very seriously. The people that are not ghosts, these people that are agitating left and right, we need to engage them. We need to actually engage them and separate the corn from chaff. We know the good and the bad amongst them. We can easily separate them by engaging them, draw them closer. And I will give you a good example from my own community. If a Modakeke war has been the very strongest communal clash in southwestern Nigeria, it's been on for a very long time. But what did I do? A very practical experience. I decided to engage the youths. For me to engage them one-on-one so that I can separate the bad one and the good one. Something happened recently. We almost had another breakdown of law and order. The boundary line of the two communities, some people started shooting sporadically. And the two communities started converging and moving away from the boundary lines. And they were agitating. The war has started again. The war has started again. I had to come out and call the youths around that we need to do it at the dead of the night. Let us go to the boundary and see the people that are doing all these things. Lo and behold, we went to the boundary and we realized that the youths of the two communities are trying to protect their own territory. At the end of the day, it is just an artificial noise that they are just raising. If we engage the people that are active, it will be a lot easier for each and every one of us. On this note, I want to thank the organizers, and I want to tell us that enough of us talking the talk. Let us walk the walk. God bless us and God bless Nigeria.
Senate President, our royal fathers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me, on this very solemn note, appreciate everyone who, in this our trying moment, have commiserated with us over the demise of the late Chief of Army Staff and our gallant officers and men in the last few days. We are here for a special summit on national security. National security seeks to guarantee the safety and well-being of the state and its citizens. The armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies are tools of policy implementation on issues of national security. They, of course, are in the front line in terms of policy implementation, but as tools. policies that are formulated are what they implement in the area of defense and security. And so this is the reason for which I find our invitation to be very expedient. I'd like to thank the Speaker and members of the House of Reps who have pulled this summit together and seen us fit or appropriate to be invited as part of those to talk. I also believe, and with very solemn due deference, that even though that we've been talking for such a long time, I also believe that talk cannot be enough. Yes, it is good for us to talk and do what we have spoken about. It is by talking that the actions that have been taken are reviewed. And then what has been left undone cannot be pointed out. I just thought I should put that in context. I know and I give due reverence to our revered traditional rulers who have made that reference. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear. Peace is very expensive. Very expensive. But insecurity is more expensive than peace. Insecurity in various dimensions is more expensive. And if perhaps one will look at the component costs of peace, love for country, which of course has made our traditional rulers to extend their stay in Abuja to be able to be part of this discussion. And of course, everyone that is here having to give up other engagements to be here. It is because of love for country, which of course some have termed to be patriotism. Sacrifices of various forms, including paying the supreme price, is also a cost component to the peace. And this, of course, is what the death of Ibrahim Atahiru, Lieutenant General, and other generals and personnel of the armed forces in recent time exemplifies. We equally have our men, officers and men in the front lines in various theaters of operation who have paid this price. It's all part and parcel of the cost for peace. And so putting together these various components, you find that my assertion to the fact that peace is very expensive comes very handy. Inconveniences that we find when security agencies implement certain policies and guidelines. Sometimes it's not convenient for the populace, it's not convenient for the citizens. These inconveniences, of course, are part and parcel of the cost for peace. The intention of the police and other security agencies to inconvenience, in parentheses, the populace is to the greater good of the citizens. The moral support that you give to the armed forces and security agencies is also part and parcel of this cost component for peace. And more importantly, I'd like to indicate that every one of us as Nigerians, we have a part to play in contributing to this cost for peace. This is why I'd like to thank every Nigerian using this medium to thank every Nigerian for the support they've given to the leadership of the armed forces and security agencies, and ensuring that as they undertake their responsibilities, their task of defending and providing the ambience for socio-economic activities to thrive in the country and for everyone to live in peace and harmony. The support that you've been providing is invaluable. We can only ask that you give us more of that support, and to also know that the leadership of the armed forces and the security agencies are mindful of the concerns that are being shown or that are being expressed across the country, and we promise that in line with the directive of the Commander-in-Chief, that we will take every measure necessary to bring peace to our fatherland. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank the National Assembly leadership and, of course, all its members being representatives of the people for the support they've given to the armed forces and security agencies on the course of their responsibility. We remain loyal to Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, and to the Constitution, and I think it's necessary to also re-emphasize that we will defend the constitutional order at all times. Once again, as we deliberate during the course of this special summit on national security, I encourage everyone to please be forthcoming and to canvass ideas, solutions that will enable the various organs, not just of government, of course, every sector of the economy, to undertake the actions that they require to undertake. Once again, thank you and God bless.
Facing us as a nation today, it behooves all institutions and all Nigerians to stand up to the occasion and not leave everything to the security agencies alone. Security is everybody's business. I must take this opportunity to state very, very clearly that there is an incontrovertible evidence of a linkage between drug use and the spate of insecurity. Drugs are a clear propellant to the insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, ESN activities. We know that drug money funds their activities. We have arrested quite a few on their way to supply drugs to the insurgents. Since January, the NDLEA has seized over 2,000 tons and over 90 billion naira worth of drugs. Consider what a fraction of that could do in support of the criminal activities. Equally, the bandits, the insurgents, and the criminals use drugs before launching their nefarious missions. Now, history bears us out. It's not something that started in Nigeria. The service chiefs, His Eminence the Sultan, with 31 years of service under his belt in the armed forces, and indeed all students of military history will remember that in the initial stages of World War II, Nazi Germany's blitzkrieg offensive against Czechoslovakia in 1938, against Poland in 1939, the conquest of the Low Countries in the early 40s, leading to the invasion of France, the armored forces and crewmen were actually issued methamphetamine. They were issued drugs as official military issue to propel the advance. And so you had soldiers of Germany who were chemically enhanced, fearless, tireless, and went on for days on end without sleeping. This is what we are facing in Nigeria today. The insurgents, the bandits, these people kidnapping hundreds of school children, all of them are working under the influence of drugs. We know from our colleagues in the armed forces, once they secure a camp from Boko Haram, there are remnants everywhere of drugs. The insurgents have been asked the question, what is your most worrisome fear in your operations, and they have not said their fear is running out of ammunition or running out of food or weapons. Their greatest fear, they always say, is running out of drugs. Today, over 10 million Nigerians use cannabis, that is marijuana. Most of it smoking, but they eat it, do pepper soups and stuff. Over 10 million naira. I didn't make 10 million Nigerians. I didn't make this up. This is from the UNODC survey. Therefore, Nigeria should be, in my opinion, the last country facing its current security challenges to contemplate a law to legalize cannabis. If we legalize cannabis in any way, shape, or form, we will soon turn into a nation of junkies and criminals. It's very clear that this has to come out of my mouth as the head of the Drug Law Enforcement Agency of Nigeria. So while commending this summit and the Honorable Speaker, please, I would like to draw attention that if we are doing a summit for security, we could not at the same time be trying to legalize one of the impetus for insecurity, which is drugs. It's almost like taking one step forward and 2 steps backwards. Thank you very much for listening.
So my sincere apologies for coming late. It is not in my character to come late to occasions, and I believe it's not even in the character of Mr. President to delegate somebody that will come late to occasions. So my apologies, Your Excellency, Your Royal Majesties, for coming late. Thank you so much. Now I read the speech of Mr. President by stating that I'm delighted to be invited to this special summit on national security organized by the leadership of the House of Representatives to deliberate on the myriad of defense and security challenges facing our nation. This summit could not have come at a better time because only a few days ago, Nigeria lost the Chief of Army Staff and a host of other senior military officers in a fatal plane crash involving a Nigerian Air Force asset. This is a painful loss to the nation, the military as an institution, and to our efforts to strengthen the security architecture and capacity. May the Almighty grant the souls of the departed, gallant soldiers, eternal rest. Amen. Security has become a major subject of concern at global, regional, and national levels. In different continents of the world, terrorism, political conflicts, racism, and other forms of criminal activities continue to threaten economic development, peace, and security. At the regional and sub-regional Africa, these concerns subside and continue to rage. Nigeria shares land borders with Benin, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger, and maritime boundaries with Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, and Sao Tome and Principe. The challenges that these international borders pose to our national security and interests are enormous. The instability and conflict in the Lake Chad region alone deserves very close attention.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, our nation has had to grapple with various forms of internal security issues over the past decade in all geopolitical zones. Addressing them effectively to restore safety, peace, and security, therefore, remains the responsibility of all Nigerians in and out of public office and our democratic institutions. It is with regard to the foregoing that I wish to commend the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, the leadership and members of the House of Representatives for the vision to convene this special summit. This step demonstrates that our growing democratic system, institutions, and ethos provide for us a good platform for various arms of government to collaborate and find solutions to national challenges of all magnitudes, including security. This special national summit forms part of the collective effort to identify the root causes of our national security challenges so that we can develop and implement solutions through policies, legislation, plans, budgetary provisions, robust oversight system, bilateral and multilateral engagement that would address our present and future needs. Insecurity, as you are aware, impacts on the citizens and the economy and the governance machinery without regard to political, religious, ethnic, or other affiliations. It challenges the foundation of our nationhood and stands in the way of our achieving our highest ambitions for Nigerians. I am certain that we shall overcome, just as we have done many times throughout our history. However, success at this time requires that we set aside all other considerations and commit ourselves to a common endeavor in the national interest. I am informed that the remaining 4 days of this summit will be held behind closed doors to allow for frank conversations around the 4 thematic areas of 1, local and community level security options and solutions, 2, strategic kinetic national security solutions, 3, global perspective to insecurity and international factors in national security, and lastly, non-military security options and solutions. I wish to propose that you also consider the questions of politics and law, history and economics that are central to our national identity and yet too often constitute the root causes of our national security challenges. I also urge you to remember that the force of arms is most effective only when it is a part of a comprehensive strategic effort that includes 1, providing quality education, building infrastructure that supports job creation, and implementing safety net programs that protect the most vulnerable amongst us with the support they need to survive and overcome their dire circumstances. It is my expectation that your deliberation will yield, amongst others, specific legislative actions aimed at ensuring more effective operations of the national security agencies relating to matters of 1, structured funding of national security agencies, 2, overlapping mandates and interagency conflict, 3, intelligence sharing, 4, training and welfare of security and defense personnel, 5, non-kinetic security operations and strategies, 6, post-conflict rebuilding, amongst others. While I look forward to receiving bold and innovative recommendations, I wish to assure you of my support and collaboration of the executive arm of government. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I now have the singular honor and pleasure to declare this summit open and to assure you that the executive arm of government will continue to work with the National Assembly to ensure that we deal with the security challenges that confront the nation now and those that would arise in the future. I wish you all productive deliberations during this important national assignment. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Official photograph outside, please. Official photograph of the summit. Thank you.